and welcome to another edition of On 1300. My name is Xochitl Mora. I'm the Director here of Communications for the City of McAllen, and joining us today is our Superintendent of the McAllen Bridge System, Mr. Juan Olaguibel.
Hi.
Hi, Juan. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to our studio for the first time.
Thank you for having me.
Especially since you've just recently been named the superintendent of our bridge system. Recently being what, about 6 months or so?
6 months, 6 months or so.
Yes, so half a year, but welcome. We're really excited to have you here because there's so many exciting things going on with our McAllen Bridge System. And I'd love to hear, your take on the mission and your vision and where you want to see this bridge system go.
Thank you, Xochitl, for having me. The McAllen Bridge System's mission statement is to facilitate travel and economic growth through the international bridges. The international bridge system, which consists of the McAllen-Hidalgo and Anzalduas international bridges, are owned and operated by the City of McAllen. Revenues are generated by southbound tolls that we collect. Once we deduct the expenses, what's left is distributed to the city's general fund. We border Mexico, and Mexico borders us. So our bridge system is very important to us, and it is to Mexico. Conversations are always happening between safety, travel, security, and ongoing traffic between both countries. Part of my role is to inform the travelers to use our bridges, especially if they're coming to shop, travel, visit friends, families, or just to stay.
So we see that our bridges represent more than just commerce. I mean, there's also the facilitation of the everyday travel. And while right now it's a unique situation, generally these bridges just connect people going to work, going to school, coming to shop in either direction. I mean, people often would go into Reynosa or Progreso and then vice versa. Students and people coming into school or travel or work here. So these bridges are a connection to another city, another state, another country, but they're just almost like another side of going to work.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we have is bridges connect families, friends. They not only just see this area as a place to come and shop, but they come and do business. They spend time with their family. Pre-COVID, our traffic through the McAllen-Hidalgo International Bridge, you would see about 240,000 vehicles come through. We would see an average of 8,000 pedestrians going southbound on a daily basis. Today, we see a decline of 60% due to some travel restrictions that are set forth. And we're seeing about a 90% decline in pedestrian traffic. These travel restrictions are currently set to go through December the 21st of this month. We work very closely with the Border Trade Alliance. They are our voice in Washington with lawmakers to tell them our story and what the border city's story is. And through them, we get to talk to the lawmakers up in Washington. And in a safely manner, we're hoping that going forward, we can ease up on these restrictions.
And we do understand that this is currently a very unique situation that the entire world finds themselves. It's not unique to just McAllen, obviously. So it is important that you keep your eye on the big picture and that strategic vision for the future. And so let's say we're already back to that time when there aren't any restrictions and that free flow of both trade and commerce and pedestrians, everyday exchange of commerce across the bridges is continuing. Where do you want to take the bridges, both Anzalduas and McAllen-Hidalgo?
Well, I'm glad you're asking that because we're living some exciting times, and we have to navigate through these difficult times in a cautious manner. But once we get through this, we just finished inaugurating 2 northbound lanes. The cost of the 2 northbound lanes for Customs and Border Protection, well, it was paid for by the City of McAllen with the help of state funds. The cost was $2.8 million. It added 2 additional northbound lanes to Anzalduas, which takes CBP's port of entry from 4 lanes to 6 lanes. So that's going to help out with facilitating travel through the bridge It's going to ease up on the wait times, and it's something that's very exciting. For the McAllen-Hidalgo International Bridge, we're looking at expanding our pedestrian entry. Right now, currently, Customs and Border Protection has 5 booths, and we're helping to expand to 10 booths.
Wow, that's a big expansion. That's doubling the size.
Absolutely. And it's going to be done through our capital improvement funds, which is something that we have where every toll, we earmark 50 cents out of every toll collected into a capital improvement fund. So that pays for infrastructure at those bridges.
Well, and the bridges are an important economic generator for so many layers, if you will, because obviously there is a debt service to pay, but the bridges are owned collectively by McAllen and other communities where they are located. And then, of course, they also contribute to McAllen's general fund. And that's important for us. So we want to continue to expand these bridges because of what it represents to just even just the city of McAllen.
Absolutely. We partner with the city of Mission. We partner with the city of Hidalgo and the city of Granjeno. So we're all part of this. We're all part of this team, and so what happens here helps the entire region. And one more thing that we're looking into doing is we're finalizing the design phase for the cargo facility at the Anzalduas International Bridge, which is going to open up a lot more opportunity for the region. And we are very excited on the times that are coming. And I want to thank the Bridge Board, the City Commission, our city manager, Roy Rodriguez, for all the support that they, and the mayor, Jim Darling, for all the support that they give the international bridges.
Well, and the bridges, just again, also play an important role not only in the international trade between both the United States and Mexico, Mexico being the United States' greatest trading partner, but even as that comes down to at a state level and even a local level, that trade and commerce that is generated. And so that is an awesome responsibility and asset that you manage on a daily basis. So I'm sure that you think of all of these things as you are working with all of these different partners. As you mentioned, it is a team effort to keep the bridges going.
Absolutely. We're in constant communication with the Mexican Secretarías de Comunicaciones y Transportes, de Relaciones Exteriores, and SAT. So we're ongoing conversations with them just to make sure that the bridges are open and travel is safe and secure, and we can make the best out of it so that our travelers don't be in line that long.
So we're really excited about the future of both Anzalduas Bridge and McAllen-Hidalgo Bridge. So thank you, Juan, for sharing a little bit about what you're doing there at the bridges and what's going on. We were at that opening ceremony just a few weeks ago at Anzalduas with the northbound lanes, and we were able to talk to all of our state and federal partners, including Mayor Darling and Mayor Maki, Mayor of Reynosa, and they all talked about the importance of our bridges connecting these two communities. So let's take a listen. Thank you again, Juan, for joining us, and we'll see you again. But here's what everyone had to say about the future of our McAllen Bridge System.
Thank you.
There are some new lanes at the Anzalduas International Bridge port of entry, all in efforts to increase northbound traffic. It's a tremendous project that's brought federal, state, and local leaders together.
For us at the state capitol and in Washington, D.C., we recognize the importance of our commerce with Mexico. We have over $1 billion a day of trade. What this means is that we are investing in our infrastructure to continue expanding our capability to be able to increase commerce with Mexico. This means there'll be additional jobs for us here in the Rio Grande Valley, but also Texas.
I think this is another step in the direction of promoting international trade, commerce, and the movement not only of families but of goods within our international bridges. So for us here in Mission and really the whole Rio Grande Valley, what we want to do is reinforce our commitment on behalf of the state and the federal government to invest in our community and bring economic development and prosperity to the region.
It's an investment that benefits both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border.
Having that type of partnership with federal and state, it really streamlines the process because there's federal dollars or state dollars are involved in this type of projects, but having that working relationship and being joined at the hip, if you will, through the entire process, it really expedites the process. It avoids all that red tape.
Mientras otros se entretienen haciendo muros, aquí están entretenidos ampliando carriles para que haya más movilidad, para que sea mayor el intercambio que podamos tener entre dos países que tienen una historia juntas, cultural, social, familiar y económica.
The Reynosa Mayor Maki Ortiz Dominguez tells us that while others are building walls, here in McAllen, we are expanding lanes to promote mobility and growth between our two countries with a rich history of culture, family, and business.
That's what a lot of people in DC and Austin also don't understand, that there are certain dynamics here that cross either culture, economics, and education in so many ways. And that's what people just don't understand, the dynamics that we have. And it's a very dynamic section of the country that people don't understand, that what happens here on the border affects Austin and affects Washington, D.C.
The almost $3 million investment involved adding 3 lanes for passenger cars that include 2 vehicular lanes with inspection booths and increasing the lanes from 4 to 6.
With the addition of the 2 additional lanes, what it's going to do is going to increase our capacity to process through the ports of entry. As we all know, right now we're on travel restrictions, but once those restrictions are lifted, it's going to allow us to increase our traffic. A lot of our customer base from this general area, we have a lot of traffic from Monterrey that comes down, who does shopping down here in the area. So this would allow us to minimize those wait times, so those travelers or tourists are going to come through our port of entry.
This project aims at improving mobility and commercial border efficiency at the port of entry by also shortening wait times.
All of this was done because of the leadership of Mayor Jim Darling and City Manager Roy Rodriguez. They were relentless in communicating with Austin, state capital, but also communicating with Washington, D.C. To make this a reality.
It's taken us a little while to do that, and we appreciate all the help that we've gotten along the way. McAllen and the entire Rio Grande Valley, we understand that the bridges represent more than international crossings, but rather the links that unite us in the entire Rio Grande Valley with our friends and relatives and business associates in Mexico.
Leaders here acknowledge that our bridges serve to connect us in so many ways that are vital to the prosperity of both the United States and Mexico.
If you look and visit the McAllen Mall, for example, it's half empty. Why? Because we're not allowing the bridges to be open right now because of the pandemic. So the reality is that the jobs and the growth of our economy here in the Rio Grande Valley are very dependent on our commerce and trade with Mexico.
And are hoping for more expansions in the coming years.
Currently with this bridge, it's only for passenger vehicles. In the future, we're working already in our commercial facility. Right now, we're at 60% design on our commercial facility. We're hoping to be at 100% by the end of the year. So we're hoping that for late 2021, early 22, we can start with the first shovel of dirt in the construction of our commercial facility.
For the City of McAllen, I'm Mary Avila.
And welcome back to On 1300. Joining me now is City Manager Mr. Roy Rodriguez. We just heard from all of our state and federal elected officials who talk about the importance of our bridge system to this region. How do you advocate for the bridge to them in terms of the needs of what our bridges require?
Well, you know, our international bridges are a very unique part of the City of McAllen. Obviously, you've got to be on a border to own an international bridge, and not every city does. And so an international bridge not only has impacts on the local economy and directly to the City of McAllen, but the entire region, the state of Texas, and the United States. And so when we say that, many times I look at folks' reaction and they're like, oh, you know, this is a little exaggeration, but it really is. If you think about all of the things that get manufactured in Mexico, especially cars and car parts, and shipped north to Michigan and other parts of the country, it is a huge deal. It is a huge part of the economy of the state and the federal federal government.
Well, the bridges represent that connection that the state of Texas has with the state of Tamaulipas, and then the greater, of course, the United States with its greatest trading partner, which is Mexico. And aside from auto parts and the other industries that are right across the border in Reynosa, throughout Mexico, especially all of the produce and other products that do come through. And so those bridges represent that commerce highway that keeps both of these countries operating.
Sure. The number that you'll hear, across the country in all the networks is that $1.7 million of products cross the southern border per day. Okay, that is an amazing number that I'm not sure how many zeros are there, but $1.7 billion a day. So it has a huge impact on the entire United States, and most people don't realize, certainly the younger folks, don't realize that those bridges, Anzalduas and Hidalgo, are owned by the City of McAllen. Now, we do have partnerships for both bridges. The Hidalgo Bridge is a partnership between the City of Hidalgo, the City of McAllen, and City of Granjeno. No, I take that back. That's the other one. And Anzalduas is Granjeno, Mission, and McAllen. And so we form partnerships because of its location and the fact that our neighboring cities are very viable and very important to the City of McAllen. And so it's a huge, huge deal. It's its own enterprise, and it has a big impact on all of us on a daily basis.
Aside from commerce, I mean, the bridges also help to create that security in terms of between our commerce and exchange of people and goods from one country to the other. And so that partnership with our federal partners is also important in how we advocate and legislate for the bridge.
Sure. So, part of your initial question was how do we advocate? And so we've got the obvious partners that I just mentioned, but our delegation here in the Rio Grande Valley, which is our state representatives and our senators, help us tremendously in advocating for these bridges, especially Anzalduas, which is still developing. And in addition to that, we also seek the help of our U.S. Congressman, Henry Cuellar, Vicente Gonzalez, and our senators, John Cornyn and Ted Cruz. So it's a huge team that it takes to move our agenda forward, and our agenda is very simple. It's to improve the commerce for our area. Now, the thing that we don't talk about much nowadays, because of the fact that we're trying to promote Anzalduas cargo, is everyday life for people in the Rio Grande Valley and Mexican nationals. For decades, that relationship between the two sides of the border has been very, very important and very special. I always say the same thing. They are our friends and our families, and there's a lot of truth to that. And so while it's a little different right now with what's going on, both with this pandemic and politically and so on, this region is used to being able to get across that bridge like nothing.
Right.
I remember the days where, on an afternoon we could say, let's go to Reynosa or let's go to Progreso, and we'd get in the car and get over there. And so we're hoping for those days to come back, because that's the life that we know here in the border.
Well, that's true for many people. It's literally just crossing the other side of the street. It's not the idea of just going into another country. It really is just kind of like going into another neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was a kid, this I don't know if you remember this phrase, but my dad would say, vamos a ir al otro lado, which just means the other side. And I remember being a kid, and I thought otro lado was a place, and so it's pretty cool to think about that.
Well, the bridges do represent so much for our region, but even locally, they have a contribution to the City of McAllen and to our general fund.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so the primary reason to have international bridges is what we've talked about, but there is a direct impact to us. And so because we're the majority owner of the bridge, there is revenue that comes from Hidalgo and Anzalduas to the City of McAllen, to the City of Hidalgo, and someday to the City of Mission. Because of how we made the partnership, that's the way it is right now. But it has a tremendous impact to us in the millions of dollars per year.
And that is important because it's another revenue for the City of McAllen, but it also just represents this ongoing trade and how we are helping with the United States. Are there other issues that we advocate for legislative? I mean, we have, of course, the federal partners, but even on a state level of what that could represent.
Well, sure. I mean, cargo has always been the focus of Anzalduas Bridge. And the state representatives know that. We had this window where we could not introduce cargo because of other bridges ramping up. And so, the state and the federal government wanted to make sure that, that there's a sequential type of thing with these bridges and that they come online when they're needed. And so up until 2015, we couldn't even contemplate cargo. And soon after, we started with empty. So it involves all of those folks that you just mentioned in order for this to succeed. And we're as close as we've ever been to introducing cargo to Anzalduas. We're very excited.
Aside from cargo at Anzalduas, are there any other future plans or where you'd like to see the bridges in, say, 5 or 10 years beyond?
Well, we're always making improvements. In fact, this morning we were on a call with our Mexican counterparts about Anzalduas Bridge. But in Hidalgo is a vehicular type of traffic bridge and pedestrian. I've heard figures of how many pedestrians come across that bridge when things are quote unquote normal, and it's more than most major airports in the United States. And so when you think about how much immigration is going on in both directions, it's really amazing. And so Hidalgo is also in the process of adding lanes for pedestrians to come across, because when we go back to normal, and we will, the number of folks coming across is just unbelievable.
Well, and I think that's probably one of those international issues that the City of McAllen can help also just contribute to that conversation because of what we see in normal times on a daily basis at the bridges, and helping to educate folks that may not be as familiar with how the bridges connect these two countries, these two states, these two economies.
Yeah, so our relationship with our friends and families across the border is real. Like I said, we were on a call this morning with people in Mexico City, but we also have a good relationship with Tamaulipas, the state. We have a personal relationship with the governor, who's a good friend of the valley and specifically McAllen. And we have a tremendous relationship with the City of Reynosa. Very recently, we had a donation to the City of Reynosa. We realized that they don't have the financial wherewithal that most cities on this side of the border do. And the PUB donated a very important piece of equipment, a very expensive piece of equipment. It's called a Vector truck. And as you know, we've donated fire trucks that we were going to consider as surplus, but it helps them. And anything that we can do so that they depend less on us is a good thing. If there's a major fire or some kind of emergency and we can provide them the equipment to fight that emergency, it helps both sides of the border. And it tells you a little bit about the amazing relationship that we have with them.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? We've heard from Juan, the superintendent of our bridge system, who's talking about the mission of the bridges and how he manages that. And of course, all of our elected officials that we just heard from talking about investing in our bridges. But we see how the bridges connect these two communities. Is there anything else you want to talk about our McAllen Bridge System, the two bridges, either Anzalduas or Hidalgo, and how they contribute to this region's
success? Well, I can't wait till this lifting of non-essential travel happens. We just heard that it's been moved to December 21st or 22nd again. And so that has a devastating impact on both sides of those bridges, economically, culturally, and in so many other ways. So, I would tell our friends in Washington, and they know, we know that they're trying to do the best they can with this situation that we're dealing with, the pandemic. But it's very, very critical that happens, that this opens up, because they are part of us and we're part of them. And we've got to figure out a way where we reopen this thing and we go back to some kind of normal.
Well, we are so proud of having the bridges be a part of the assets and of the City of McAllen, and we have a great leader over there, and of course, leader here with the City of McAllen, who was helping to spearhead that strategic vision that we have, and obviously with our partners at the state and federal level, and even international, as you mentioned. So we just look forward to the McAllen Bridge System growing and continuing to be part of the success and prosperity for the City of McAllen. Thank you so much, Mr.
Absolutely.
Rodriguez, for joining us and talking about the bridge system. Thank you for watching on 1300, and continue to watch us here on MCN 1300 to learn more about the City of McAllen, our bridge system, and all of the services and programs and events that we have here for our citizens. So for the City of McAllen, I'm Xochitl Mora.